Chapter 1, They're Already Here. The alarms in Gorashfor's military outpost screamed like dying animals, the sound ricocheting through the metal corridors. Graktul, a hunched, leathery-skinned smuggler, crouched in the shadows of a supply chamber, gripping his claws together. He hadn't planned on this. No, this was never supposed to happen. His two beady eyes darted toward the small containment pod beside him. Inside, wrapped in a thin thermal blanket, lay the human child, a tiny, helpless creature. It barely made a sound, its chest rising and falling in shallow, even breaths. To Graktul, it was just a trade deal, an easy fortune. He'd been dead wrong. A Vorkin officer stormed into the room, his reptilian scales flashing under the emergency lights. He shoved Graktul against the wall with a growl. "You mindless scavenger." The officer's talons dug into Graktul's bony shoulder. "Do you understand what you've done?" It's just a child," Graktul stammered, trying to wiggle free. "A rare species. Not just a species. It's a human. And they're coming." A sharp rumble shook the facility, knocking crates from their racks. The Vorkin officer released him, his scaled face twisting in horror. Graktul scrambled to his feet. "Coming? No. That was impossible. The Vorkin Dominion ruled this sector. No one could just waltz in, not even humans." The officer's comm unit crackled. "This is High Command, urgent distress call. The humans have breached planetary defenses. They are already on the surface. Repeat, the humans are already here. The ghosts in the smoke. Vorkin Command Center, 5 kilometers away." Archwarden Thorik Karsh stood motionless, eyes locked on the tactical display. He had fought humans before. He knew their ruthlessness. But this speed? This was something new. A holographic officer materialized before him, battered and bloodied. "Sir. They're inside the complex. We can't." A snap, then silence. The hologram fizzled out, the feed severed. Thorik's claws tightened into a fist. Impossible. His forces outnumbered the humans 10-1. Yet, in mere minutes, the enemy had breached their most fortified installation. He turned to his second-in-command. "Where's the main force?" The officer gulped. "Dead. Or gone. We don't know." Elias Voss had arrived. Deep in the lower corridors, a squad of Terran Strike Corps soldiers moved like shadows, their exosuits dull against the flickering red emergency lights. At the front, Commander Elias Voss raised his rifle, the barrel tracking movement behind the smoke. He had seen Vorkin battlefields before, but tonight was different. The air was thick with gunpowder, the floors slick with alien blood. His comlink crackled. "Voss, we've confirmed the target. Human child, alive. Secured in a containment pod, 20 meters from your location." Voss didn't respond. He gestured forward, his men flanking the doors ahead. The Vorkin had fought hard. They always did. But humanity fought harder. Voss tapped his wrist display. The door ahead hissed open, and chaos erupted. The final mistake. Graktul never heard the gunfire. One moment, the Vorkin officer was barking orders. The next, his head snapped back, a silent hole punched through his skull. Graktul flinched. "What?" A figure emerged from the smoke, moving like a specter of death. Elias Voss. His rifle tracked every movement in the room. Behind him, more figures followed, Terran soldiers, armor streaked with soot and alien gore. The smuggler froze. Voss's voice was calm, empty of emotion. "Where is the child?" Graktul stammered, but his throat locked up. One of the soldiers stepped forward, kicked over the containment pod. The small human blinked up at them, wide-eyed, confused, but unharmed. Voss exhaled. Target secured. But there was no relief. Because outside, something was coming. A deep, vibrating sound rumbled through the structure. Something massive. Thorik Karsh had activated planetary defenses. Voss turned his head slightly, listening through his comms. Enemy reinforcements inbound. His voice sharpened. Burn everything that moves. We're leaving. The Vorkan's last stand. From his command post, Thorik Karsh watched in horror. Every camera feed showed the same thing. Humans, cutting through his forces like ghosts. His warriors didn't even have time to scream. He turned to his officers. Bring the ship down. We'll glass the outpost. But, sir, our own men. Thorik snarled. Then they die with honor. A massive warship descended over the facility, its cannons glowing. If the humans wanted war, they would have it. But as Thorik looked back at the monitors, his scales turned cold. The Terran forces weren't running. They were advancing. Straight toward the main fortress. Chapter 2, Burn Everything That Moves. The air inside Gorashfor's military complex was thick with the smell of burning metal and scorched alien flesh. Flames crawled up the shattered walls, flickering in the dim emergency lights. The base was dying, but it wasn't dead yet. Elias Voss moved with purpose, his rifle locked against his shoulder, scanning every dark corner for movement. His squad spread out behind him, methodical, precise. No wasted steps, no hesitation. In his arms, the human child stirred. Small, fragile, confused. But alive. That was all that mattered. Voss, enemy reinforcements inbound. The voice came from his comlink, Sergeant Cole, his second in command. How many? Too many. Voss adjusted his grip on the child and spoke through clenched teeth. Then we kill them fast. Death from above. Outside the shattered compound, the sky turned crimson. The Vorkan warship descended, its cannons glowing with lethal energy. The ground trembled as the ship's massive engines roared, preparing to unleash devastation. Inside the command center, Archwarden Thorik Karsh watched the battlefield unfold. He had underestimated the humans before. He would not make the same mistake again. All units, collapse the tunnels. Cut off their escape. If they want to fight, we drown them in their own blood. A mechanical hum filled the air. Heavy doors slammed shut, locking the humans inside. The walls shuddered as automated turrets whirred to life. The kill box was set. Karsh leaned forward, watching the monitors. Let's see how long they last. The kill box. Deep inside the base, the air turned hostile. Turrets descended from the ceiling, their targeting systems locking onto Voss's team. Red laser sights crawled across the soldiers' armor. Voss didn't wait. Move! His squad scattered just as the corridor erupted in gunfire. The walls tore apart, molten steel raining down as bullets chewed through everything in sight. Cover fire, Cole, take left. Cole pivoted, dropping to one knee as his rifle barked out rapid bursts. The first turret exploded in a shower of sparks, its mechanical arm twisting mid-fall. Voss sprinted through the chaos, shielding the child with his body. His HUD flashed warnings, multiple hostiles closing in. Cade, EMP, now! Private Cade lobbed a small, disc-shaped grenade. It hit the floor with a sharp clink before detonating in a surge of blue light. The turrets went silent, their circuits fried. A moment of stillness. Then, the walls burst open, and Vorkan warriors poured through. Blades and bullets. The Vorkan didn't hesitate. They were bred for war, their curved blades gleaming as they lunged forward, fangs bared. Voss sidestepped the first strike, bringing his rifle up and firing a single, clean shot. The alien's head snapped back, its body crumpling to the ground. Another came at him, faster, meaner. Voss pivoted, using the Vorkan's momentum against him. His combat knife flashed, slicing through scaled flesh. Behind him, the squad held the line. Cole unloaded his shotgun at point-blank range, sending two Vorkan flying backward in bloody chunks. Cade fought with a combat blade in one hand and a pistol in the other, moving like a predator in the dark. The air was thick with gunfire, steel, and dying screams. Hold the corridor. No one gets past. Voss's voice cut through the carnage. Commander, we're boxed in. Cole shouted back, reloading. They've locked the exits. Voss's mind raced. They needed an opening, a way out. His gaze flicked up. Ceiling hatch, 20 meters ahead. Cade didn't hesitate. He grabbed a high-yield charge, sprinting through enemy fire, then slammed it against the reinforced panel. Beep. 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 Voss grabbed the child and turned away just as the charge detonated. A shockwave blasted through the corridor, sending Vorkin bodies hurtling like ragdolls. A thick cloud of smoke and debris swallowed the battlefield. The hatch tore open, revealing a narrow escape shaft. Go! Climb! Voss barked. One by one, the squad scrambled up, gunfire still rattling below. Voss was the last to move, the child clutched in one arm as he reached for the edge. A hand yanked at his leg. A Vorkin warrior, wounded but still alive, his burning yellow eyes locked onto Voss. You will not leave here, alive. Voss didn't waste a second. His combat knife plunged deep, severing muscle and bone. The alien choked, its grip loosening. Voss kicked him free and hauled himself up the shaft. Surface extraction. The Vorkin warship loomed overhead, its cannons ready to fire. Voss and his team burst onto the surface, eyes scanning for their evac ship. Then, through the smoke, it appeared. A Terran dropship, engines flaring bright. The rear ramp lowered, and a voice crackled through Voss's comms. Commander, you have 30 seconds before this place turns to glass. Voss didn't need telling twice. He sprinted across the rocky ground, his squad close behind. Heavy plasma blasts slammed into the terrain, missing by inches. Cole was the last to reach the ramp, spinning mid-run and firing one last devastating round into the approaching Vorkan. The ramp sealed shut. Get us out of here! Voss shouted. The dropship roared skyward, leaving the burning complex behind. Voss exhaled and looked down at the child in his arms. The cost had been high. But they had won. Or so he thought. Because as the ship cleared the atmosphere, his HUD flashed with an incoming transmission. A new fleet had arrived in orbit. And they weren't Vorkan. Chapter 3, The End of Vorkan. The Terran dropship cut through the upper atmosphere like a blade, engines roaring against the turbulence. Inside, Elias Voss stood near the cockpit, his gaze fixed on the tactical display. The child lay strapped into a seat behind him, small hands gripping the restraints. Commander, Cole said, his voice tight. We have a problem. Voss had already seen it. The Vorkin fleet was gone, but something else had taken its place. A new armada had materialized in orbit, sleek black warships arranged in a precise formation. Their design was nothing like Vorkin ships, these were something else entirely. The comms crackled. Unidentified Terran vessel, this is the Zulzor Imperium. You are ordered to surrender the stolen asset. Voss exchanged a look with Cole. Asset? The child. Voss pressed the comm. That's not happening. Silence. Then, every enemy ship powered its weapons. A new enemy. Missiles inbound. Brace. The pilot yanked the controls hard, and the dropship rolled violently. Outside the viewport, streaks of plasma fire narrowly missed, carving through space. Shields at 20%. Voss grabbed a handrail as the ship shuddered. If they stayed in the open, they were dead. Punch through. Voss ordered. The pilot jerked the throttle forward, weaving through the chaos. Explosions erupted behind them as enemy fire clipped their tail. Cole, options? We need backup. Now. Voss switched channels. TSC command, this is Strike Leader Voss. Immediate reinforcements required, hostile fleet in orbit. Static. Then, a voice. Voss, reinforcements are 2 minutes out. Can you hold? 2 minutes in a dogfight was a lifetime. We don't have a choice. Fighting the impossible. The Zulzor warships closed in, firing relentlessly. The Terran dropship jerked and spun, dodging by meters. "They're too fast," the pilot cursed. "Then we slow them down." Voss moved to the weapons console, his fingers flying over the controls. The ship's rear turrets activated, swiveling toward their pursuers. Firing countermeasures. Clusters of high-yield flares burst outward, creating a glowing field. The Zulzor fighters hesitated, their targeting systems thrown off for a split second. It was enough. The Terran ship spun sharply, cutting across their formation. Voss unleashed a spread of railgun fire, tearing through the closest pursuers. One enemy ship detonated instantly, debris scattering. Direct hit. But the others kept coming. A deep vibration rattled the ship. Impact. Port side stabilizer failing. Voss slammed the comms. "Where are those reinforcements?" A second later, his answer came. The void split apart, and a Terran war fleet emerged. Humanity's wrath. The first volley was merciless. Terran cruisers and battleships surged forward, their weapons ripping into the Zulzor fleet. The black warships reeled, caught off guard. Plasma fire and railgun rounds tore through their ranks. "Voss, this is Admiral Casper. You called for reinforcements?" Voss smirked. "Damn right I did." The Zulzor realized too late, they had underestimated humanity. The Terran fleet didn't stop, didn't slow. They fought like they always had, relentless, brutal, unyielding. One by one, Zulzor warships fell, breaking apart in violent explosions. Enemy flagship is retreating. Voss watched the battle unfold, his expression cold. They had made a fatal mistake in thinking humans would surrender. "Don't let them escape," he ordered. The Terran fleet pursued, finishing the slaughter. Within minutes, the Zulzor were nothing but wreckage. The child's value. As the battle ended, Voss turned back to the child. The small figure watched him with quiet curiosity, unafraid. Cole leaned over. Why would they risk an entire fleet over one kid? Voss exhaled. That's the real question, isn't it? The Vorkan wanted him dead. The Zulzor wanted him taken. Which meant the child was more important than any of them had realized. Voss crouched down, leveling his gaze with the child's. "Who are you?" The child blinked. Then, finally, spoke. "I don't know. But they do." Voss's jaw tightened. Whatever was happening was bigger than all of them. And humanity was just getting started.